Yeah, you got me? All right. Good morning, everyone. We're going to call to order a meeting at 10:01 on June 13th, 2024. It's for the Economic Development Advisory Committee. I'll start with the land acknowledgement. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of our council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Clerk Eric, could I have the roll call, please?
Chair Councillor Cebulski.
Present.
Sherry Kobus. Councillor McDonald.
Present.
Councillor McWhirter.
Present.
Councillor Christina Ouellette. Sorry.
No.
Christina Ouellette. Habit, my apologies.
Present.
John Pohl.
Present.
Lisa Vincent.
Present.
Lori Witcher.
Present.
Okay. Councillor Cebulski, we do have quorum.
Thank you, Clerk. Before I get into this, is there any declaration of interest? Not seeing any.
Does the clerk maybe just want to explain what that is real quick?
Clerk is just going to pause this for a second to make sure that something's not working.
No problem.
All right, we're going to stand by for a second if you can understand that.
Okay, so I am going to apologize because it doesn't look like it's live streaming, but it is recording, so we can always post it afterwards. We do have volume, and so the meeting is set. It's just not linking to our back-end YouTube at the moment. So, okay, so to answer, through you, Chair, to answer our question about interest, basically what that is if we're declaring interest of anybody around the table, so if there's a topic or a discussion point where it affects you or sometime a member of family, so our code of conduct speaks to basically pecuniary interest and kind of all nature thereof. So it's not just a financial impact, but say it's a personal impact or something that is related to you directly, then we do ask that you declare. We do make that public, and then at that time when the discussion is happening, we do ask that you remove yourself from the discussion and also remove yourself from the vote. Okay. If there's any questions along the way, then certainly ask myself.
Great. Thank you. Before we get into the presentation delegation, I just want to thank everyone for taking your time out of this and volunteering and providing us with your experience and your input. I believe it's going to be of great value to us to hear what you have to say. And I do know that this is a small agenda today, but we will have some great topics to discuss, and really looking forward to it. So from there, I will move into the presentations and introductions of members. I guess we can go for alphabetical order, how we went. Christina, do you want to start us off?
Through you, Chair. My name is Christina Ouellette. I'm a downtown business owner. I own the Flower Factory. I've had my business in Renfrew for 14 years. I'm an active business member in the community. I've served on the BIA for over a decade, not currently on the board, but I'm also a board member of the Chamber of Commerce in downtown Renfrew.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. John?
John Pohl, president of My Broadcasting Corporation. We own and operate 23 radio stations across the province of Ontario, all based out of Renfrew and the MyFM Centre. I've been an active member of the community with Renfrew Minor Hockey, Hospice Renfrew, Valley Fest, BIA, Chamber over the years. I've been involved in many things here in Renfrew and excited to be part of this group.
Thank you. Lisa?
Through you, Chair. I'm Lisa Vincent. I'm here representing the Downtown Renfrew BIA. I'm currently a director with the board. I've served on the board over 20 years, 10 of which were as chair. And I've owned a business downtown Renfrew for 25 years. I'm also a residential real estate appraiser for the past 9 years. And I've also served within the community fundraising for RVH, also on the chamber and on a tourist committee a number of years ago. And another committee called Downtown Renfrew Initiative back probably about 15, 20 years ago.
Finally, Lori.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Lori Wickisher. I am the president and owner of Renfrew and Burnstown Castle Building Centers, which includes the Downtown Design Center on Raglan Street, the Building Center on Gillen Road, and the Building Center in Burnstown, Ontario. My partner and I came to Renfrew 8 years ago this month and have kind of jumped in, jumped into everything right away. So been involved with all kinds of things, Chamber of Commerce, the BIA for a very little while, the fair, different other athletic events, and are very committed to this community and looking forward to hearing what we can do to develop things in Renfrew. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Would any of the other councillors or staff want to say anything? We're okay? Do you want to do an introduction, guys? Are you good? All right, we're going to...
Through you, Chair, maybe I could ask the councillors just to give a little bit about themselves, just for the other members of the board.
I've got it. John McDonald. Worked with the City of Ottawa for about 30 years, and then was a small business owner in Ottawa while I was there for about 13 years. And I'm involved with the Chamber right now and also the BIA, and looking forward to seeing what we can do for the town of Renfrew. And I really want to thank, it's expected of us, but I want to thank the four of you for jumping in and helping out. So thank you.
Through you, Chair.
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
Clint McWhirter, Town Councillor. I was in the automotive business for about 35 years. I was a business owner. I retired. There was a need for bus drivers, so I guess I'm semi-retired. I volunteered, and based on what they pay, I'm pretty much volunteer. I got in the Town Council a number of years ago. My first term was 2000. I got back on, took a break, got back on in 2010. Took another break, and I'm back on currently. One time I was director for the Chamber. I sit on a number of boards. I'm president of the Renfrew Recreation Fund Raising Committee, basically the bartenders for out of Mattaway. I'm president of a couple other clubs. Like to volunteer, keep busy, and I really look forward to working with you guys. Some of you I know, some I haven't, but I think it's a fun group, and I think we can accomplish a lot for Renfrew. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor McWhirter. I will finish this up. I'm Kyle Sapolsky. New council member this year. I've been loving it. This is a great experience. I wanted to throw my hat into this. I'm a sheet metal worker by trade. I've specialized in copper metal roofing and display metal roofing projects. We've successfully grown from nothing, a metal roofing installation, into manufacturing and sold the company. Currently working in sheet metal sales and opening up a new bicycle business in the town of Renfrew that we are seeing great reviews on. So looking forward to this as well. I believe the town of Renfrew is a great place to grow and expand, and also utilize the facilities we have to maximize what we can do. So thank you. Okay, we're going to move into C.2, which is a presentation from our Economic Development Advisory Committee. Terms of reference, it's going to be presented by Clerk Errett. The table's all yours.
Thank you, through you, Chair. So I'm just going to give kind of a brief update about the terms of reference of this committee. Unfortunately, I don't have any pretty displays to go up on the board at the moment, but just to give you, again, a little bit of why we're here and what we want to accomplish while we're at this table. And then, again, this information is all part of the agenda package. It's also on our website for anybody who is watching and who wants more information. So the mandate of the committee, so the Economic Development Advisory Committee, is mandated to ensure that the town of Renfrew is proactive in economic development and tourism. The committee will make recommendations regarding business expansion and retention, visitor attraction, and strategies to position the town for growth. The membership, as you've seen around the table, are kind of a mix between members of council as well as representatives from the various business sectors in town, as well as a representative from our downtown Renfrew BIA, as well as a representative from the Renfrew area and chambers. So the general responsibilities of the committee is to make recommendations from time to time to both the committee of the whole and onto council to assess growth and readiness and potential programs and partnerships that we could be established along the way, to ascertain the town's community improvement plan and business retention and expansion program and make recommendations for enhancement, be the liaison for different business sectors, including industrial, commercial, residential, multi-residential, institutional, retail, accommodation, service, and home-based businesses, and provide feedback kind of regarding the town services and programs as it relates to attractions. So there are some other areas, but again, this information is kind of a part of our agenda package, so I won't go into full details, but again, one of the main things with the highway expansion coming along is we want to say is we want to be ready for growth. So again, that's kind of the key responsibility and kind of mandate for this group. And then right now, with regards to the terms of reference, our meeting schedule has been originally set for the second Tuesday of the month, starting at 10 a.m. That is up for discussion because, again, I know we do have some business representatives here, so we want to make sure that there's a meeting schedule that can accommodate everybody at this table as best as possible. So further down in the agenda, we will talk about a meeting schedule, but right now that's part of the current mandate. But that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions, anyone? All right. Thank you, Clerk Garrett. We'll move down to C3, which is another presentation. The Development Services Overview presented by Director Withers, our CBO, Mr. Webster, and Coordinator Ashley Rathwell. So I'll hand this over to you, Director Withers. And if need be, I believe we're going to try and get a presentation on the screen. Is that the anticipation?
I think that's the hope. So we'll see if that hope
There we go.
translates to
So
reality,
you're good
and
to
in
go.
fact it has. So that's great. So yes, thank you, and thank you again to members of the committee, members of council for being part of this committee. I think as Councillor Sobalski, Chair, noted, members of council have already signed up for this gig, but the rest of you volunteered, your time for this, and everyone has busy schedules, council members included, and so just appreciate you kind of carving this time out to make yourselves available for this important work, and I don't think it can be overstated the importance of economic development for a small town, right? And the importance of a committee like this for economic development in a small town. We don't have the resources of a large metro area with dozens of economic development staff that, dedicate 100% of their time to economic development. So we rely substantially on the efforts of volunteers and members of council for assisting in that work. So it's very important that this committee exists and advises council and assist staff in implementing the council's strategic objectives. And so before kind of getting into the presentation, I'll just also highlight, there is a connection to council's strategic plan, and we do have a road to Road to 2035 strategic plan document that was that's recently enacted. And so, there are a number of, I encourage you to review that strategic plan. Perhaps we can circulate a copy of it so that, the committee members understand and kind of where we're going. The strategic plan is really intended to guide our efforts as an organization so that we're kind of focused on where we're going and what the path forward is, and allowing us to kind of, again, focus our resources in that regard. So, you want to focus on, we've got strategies related to attracting growth, including supporting a mix of land uses, commercial, industrial, residential, and mixed-use development, and of course, taking advantage of our strategic location for community development and growth. And there are a number of, there's probably, it looks like there's 8 specific action items under those 2 headings in the strategic plan that we'll likely want to kind of focus our efforts on kind of going forward. And then, the committee will be involved and its members will be involved in reviewing kind of key economic development tools, like we're looking at undertaking a review of our community improvement plan and our business retention and expansion plan over the course of the next kind of year. We're looking at likely a 2025 budget item, and so the committee will be instrumental in kind of guiding that process, reviewing the deliverables, so and making sure that what we get out of there is reflective of, again, where we want to go as an organization, meets the needs of the business community. So that's going to be very important moving forward. So on to the presentation. I'm joined today by our Chief Building Official, Tom Webster, Planning and Building Coordinator, Ashley Rathwell. They're pretty integral to the kind of the physical development of the town. So if you see something being built or you see, a planning notice going out, one of the 2 of them have been involved, or both of them. And so it's, again, their contributions are pretty important. And we have, we have quite a bit going on. We build some big buildings in the town of Renfrew, some quite large facilities, if you just kind of look at them. And so I think we punch kind of well above our weight in that regard, and we have some pretty qualified staff. So we're grateful for that. Maybe just moving on to the planning slide. So just in terms of our core functions, so I'm a land use planner by trade, so I wear a few different hats, but that's my background professionally. So this is kind of my wheelhouse here. So of course we're looking at long-term growth in the town. We kind of articulate council's vision and the town's vision for growth and development through 2 documents, the official plan and the zoning bylaw. And those documents are informed not just by the local vision, council's vision, but also has to be consistent with and conform to county and provincial policy. We administer a range of approvals under the Planning Act. These things may or may not be familiar to you, but certainly happy if you have any questions about any of them. But they're all found in the Planning Act, and they're processes that municipalities have to administer in order to get development moving forward. Amendments to the official plan and zoning bylaw, various types of zoning bylaws, zoning bylaw amendments, things like temporary uses, holding zones, site plan approval. So if you have a large building that's maybe not subject to another process, we do go through site plan approval that reviews the kind of the engineering materials. We want to look at all the physical development, make sure that the project is going to be designed and constructed appropriately. We've got, of course, minor variants and severances, which may be more familiar to you, and then of course plans of subdivision and condominiums. So that's a more large scale development, something like you'd see Huntergate, Pinnacle View subdivision, Mayhew, things of that nature. We have a range of other types of processes and responsibilities, different types of agreements. We kind of are involved at the front end with building permit applications, making sure they conform to the zoning bylaw. We ensure that development pays kind of its fair share with respect to development charges, parkland dedication, other types of fees and charges associated with development. We coordinate across kind of municipal and jurisdictional boundaries with the county, other municipalities, the province, external agencies. We make sure that council is aware of and that our documents reflect any changes to provincial legislation and policy. And there have been a significant number of changes to the Planning Act and provincial policy over the course of the last, I'm going to say, 4 years. It's just kind of been an exponential growth in that. So it's been quite the task just making sure that we're up to speed and that our processes and documents reflect those. Of course, we're the point of contact for any kind of front-end development inquiries. And in the event that there is an appeal at the Ontario Land Tribunal, we do represent the town. I would, as a registered professional planner, represent the town in most cases. In other cases, we would get some consultant support, and in almost all cases, we would get legal support. But we don't go through that process too frequently, but in the event that we do, we certainly help to coordinate that process. So the next slide is just a snapshot of the typical application volume that we see. So we're ranging anywhere from kind of 30 to 50 applications of various types in a given year. COVID, I'm going to say, was again a little bit more active, and you'll hear, fairly similar on the building side with interest rates quite low. We did see a bit more activity. We're kind of in a bit more of the financial conditions are not as conducive right now to development. We're hoping that as financial conditions loosen, we'll see kind of a reacceleration of economic activity and development activity. But that's just kind of a snapshot of our sorry, next slide would be the snapshot of our activity. That's okay. That's all good. Next slide. So this is just, again, a snapshot. Planning tends to be a fairly legislative heavy, policy heavy undertaking. The province has been going through a process of kind of peeling back the layers of some of those processes in legislation, which I think has been positive. But even notwithstanding those efforts, it's still a process that is largely driven by legislation and policy. It is very much a top-down process. We're kind of allowed and permitted and enabled through the Planning Act to have a vision for how we want our community to develop, and that vision is reflected in our official plan. But the process by which we get development built is driven largely by the Planning Act and the process that entails, including kind of notices and consultation, public meetings, and council meetings and council decision and appeal periods. So it is a bit of an animal kind of on its own that requires some education and fluency with the process. So that's certainly, we try to, throughout the process, we try to educate people, and that's a big part of what we do as planners. And I hand it over to Tom for the building portion. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Through the chair, welcome everybody. I'm Tom Webster, the chief building official for the town. So I'll talk to the building end of it, but right off the bat, I want to express how our department works very efficiently. So projects come in, they got to go through site plan approval, which takes months and months to kind of happen sometimes. So what we do in the meantime is we offer them to submit their building permit application. That I get all my stuff out of the way because all applicable law has to be in place prior to me issuing a building permit. So they're working through Eric and Ashley trying to get through site plan approval, and that's a process of so many days and everything else to happen. But in the meantime, they're doing two things at once, that we get through the building permit, and then as soon as I get approval from them that the building permit's ready to go, it can go out the next day. Whereas that's how we're proactive to speed up construction going on. A lot of developers appreciate that, contractors and everybody, because they are ready to go. They know the building permit's out of the way, and I hear it, and maybe Eric and Ashley hear it as well, that they really appreciate shortening the process to actually get a shovel in the ground or renovations started and all that, because the building permit is working the same timeline. So Renfrew is very proactive at that, as I said, and we want to continue that to promote growth and for this committee to assess. So if there is people out there, we're more than willing to help them through the process. Any questions, do not hesitate to contact one of us in our department. Anyway, I just want to say that up front, and then in the slide here, insurance compliance with the Ontario Building Code, and just to refresh that, there's a new code coming out starting 2025, and what they're doing is, so the Ontario Building Code, and there's a national through Canada, National Building Code, and they're harmonizing it, so there's going to be lots of changes, 1,700 changes or something coming to the building code, and it's just worrying, but it's going to be, the Ontario Building Code's getting rewritten to more harmonize with the National Building Code. It's still going to be the Ontario Building Code, but really close to the National Building Code in simple terms. So moving on with that, the Fire Protection and Prevention Act, Municipal Act, and Occupational Health and Safety Act. Maintains appropriate qualifications and training to perform the duties of CBO. So that's simple terms. You have to pass certain examinations and be qualified to do certain buildings. So there's houses, small buildings, which is up to 600 square meters or less than 4 stories in height. That's a small building. Large buildings, anything above that. And then there's complex buildings, which is hospitals and stuff like that, that, you know, they go to a higher standard for seismic and everything else control. So I do have all the qualifications to do any building in Ontario, so we're covered off in those qualifications in that. Calculates and collects development-related fees in accordance with council's various bylaws, fees and charges bylaw. Schedules on-site visits for inspections, so footings, foundation, framing, plumbing, mechanical systems, and to ensure compliance with appropriate codes, standards, as well as the construction drawings submitted with the original application. Issues correction notices and orders, probably more so the orders that you'll hear about as required to take appropriate legal actions as set out in the Act. Reviews and updates the town's building bylaw to keep up with changing regulations and building trends, and then our monthly reporting to MPAC, StatsCan, Ministry of Labor, and CMHC. Responsible for the enforcement of the applicable bylaws passed by council. So the building bylaw, and it's noted there, and the property standards bylaw. Working with the property standards, our new bylaw officer, we're on kind of on the same page of who takes care of what, because they overlap building and property standards. So like grass cutting issues is not necessarily mine, but structural of the building is. So, but it's all within the same bylaw that, you know, we work in conjunction, the bylaw officer and myself, to achieve compliance. The next slide is our building stats. So you can see it's going on this year to the end of May. And then if you look at the bottom of it, it really shows you the boom we had in after, I guess, starting in 2021. So a lot of things were happening in the construction values, and you know, the apartment buildings come, and the hospital renovations, schools, everything else going on with that. And if there's any questions on that prior to moving forward for Ashley.
Through you, Chair. My name is Ashley Rothwell, and I am the Planning and Building Coordinator. So I work with these two gentlemen on a daily basis, and I am responsible for basically the service delivery of everything that they just explained. So I field many, many calls about zoning issues and lots of building permit inquiries. So I take a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. And then I also issue building permits. We've recently moved to an online e-permitting system, so a lot of building permits are coming through that system now, which has been great. We have our new website up now, so we've worked really hard at getting that set up so that it can help field the calls. Lots of information on there, and as people ask more questions, we go in, update, so that hopefully everything's there. Also do zoning and building compliance reports, any addressing changes, any statutory notices, circulations for planning applications, as Eric explained, file database management. I'm a commissioner of oaths, and I provide operational support. And I talked about the e-permitting. And I think that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one final slide. Does anyone want to comment on that?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the first four here. Maybe Tom can speak to the first four, being the St. Thomas, MyFM, and the two apartments in terms of status. And then Huntergate, I can speak to the other subdivisions. I can maybe just speak to MyFM. So MyFM is obviously a significant project. We are targeting the end of the month to have the contractors' work wrapped up, and then we're going to be working on exterior works and any out-of-contract work being undertaken by the town over the course of the next while. So we're excited. We think that project is actually moving along quite well now. We think it's going to be it's going to look great. I know right now it looks a bit unfinished on the outside. We're hopeful that changes very shortly, and folks will get a flavor of what kind of the finished product is intended to look like. Thanks.
Thank you. Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I'll just carry on with the other projects going on. So St. Thomas, St. Joe's School, so they're progressing well there. Basically, they're at drywall stage going up. The intention is they want to be done, the school and the daycare, by the end of November. And the plan is handed over to the school board, and then they're going to set up the classrooms and everything through December, and then basically this is the last notice that I got, and then come the new year, so they've got a full month to set up, and then the new year they're going to vacate the school and move over to that place, and once everything's up and running, demolition of the old St. Thomas School will happen. The 142 Raglan Street, so what is it called, McPhail Perkins? Is that? McPhail. Yeah, McPhail Perkins, as known as. There's 10 apartments going in there. It's going to look beautiful. He's retained some old brick and some structures going on, so it's going to be a beautiful set of apartments up there for something going on. He's progressing well. Again, he's at drywall stage, getting close to paint at that stage. The post office is 6 apartments up there, so they are in framing stage right now. Plumbing's going on, electrical's going on, so they're at the framing stage, and both of those projects, I'm expecting, the word is that they're going to be ready for the fall. So that's the condition they're in right now, but they're progressing well to move along. And that's my update for that.
Yeah, and I can speak to the subdivisions. So we have 3 kind of active subdivisions at this time. Huntergate, of course, most folks would be aware of. Phase 5, they are undertaking early servicing work. They're hopeful to have that servicing done kind of by the early fall is their target. Pinnacle View subdivision, so that's been recently draft approved. We're continuing to work with the developer. And the Mayhew subdivision, that's the same owner as the Huntergate subdivision. And again, they're quite motivated. They're in the engineering design review phase right now, but they want to get, there's 19 houses in there. They want to get those built as soon as possible.
Great, thank you. Councillor McWhirter, you have a question?
I have through you, Chair, a question for Tom. The 2 apartment projects you're talking about, is there elevators going in those, like post office and the McPhail?
No, there is not, because it kind of falls under Part 11 of the code, and I don't want to get too involved there, but it's an existing building, so existing structure that they have to make it accessible for the businesses on the ground floor, which will be off the street, but no elevators for them, and it's not a requirement. Whereas it is in the new code. If it's a brand new build, yes, it needs to happen, but because of the existing building, it falls under Part 11. They get, I don't want to say grandfather, maybe not the right word, but that's how it falls under that.
So neither building?
Neither building.
Thank you. Any other questions for the team? Once again, I'll just make comment to the team. It's amazing the amount of information that you guys have to sort through and understand, and the amount of answers that are required to give individuals for what they need. So thank you for all the work. We're going to move down into a little bit of discussion topics. We have D1, which is topics of interest. I want to open it up to the floor and give everyone an opportunity to table some topics of interest that they might be. Pardon me? Sure, absolutely. I will hand this over to clerk, and she'll give us a few directional topics first.
Perfect. Thank you, through you, Chair. As Chair Sapolsky was talking about, we would like an opportunity, obviously, to have some discussion around the table and to bring forward some kind of areas of discussion that we want to kind of touch base over for the next little while. There was a preliminary list that I've included in the agenda package. These were areas of discussion that were brought forward as part of an initial working group that started for growth and readiness. It was a task force that tried to get off the ground initially early in the term, but we've kind of switched gears and made it into this advisory committee, which I think is great because it obviously brings in some business representatives. So some of those topics are listed, but certainly this is not the end-all list. We would certainly love your input, whether it's today, whether it's throughout the process. But again, just kind of, you guys are out there in the business world and you kind of know what maybe should come forward as discussion. Same with staff. Staff will be putting forward some ideas. So just a quick review of what's on the list so far, and then, and again, I won't go into detail, but then if there's anything that we'd like to add today, then just let me know and I'll record it, and then if there's anything that pops up along the way, again, we'll get it on our notes. So the MTO, so the highway expansion, obviously a big one, certainly going to be impacting the town over the next several years. So long-term range for planning and infrastructure. So these include a few of the master plans that we're looking at. So an OP review, the transportation plan that's currently underway, a servicing plan, utilities, hydro, charging stations. Kind of all fall within those long-term range planning and infrastructure. So the school boards, kind of discussions with them and how they see growth and how they are planning for the future as well. Healthcare, again, this is big, right? How's the hospital planning for it? You know, what's their long-term range goals? Everything. Developers, right? Both kind of with the local developers as well as kind of the Ottawa Home Building Association. So again, making sure we're touching base with them, making sure that we they know their planning, what's their intentions, what's out there, what we have, kind of those areas. Housing and development. So again, that's going back to the developers. That's going to building permit activity and planning activity. Affordable housing. That's a big one. Corporate retail. What stores that we have here, what stores do we want to attract here, right? What do we need? What do we want? Those type of discussions. Obviously, our Indigenous community, Bonnechere Algonquin First Nation, being a huge partner with the town, an important aspect in our kind of makeup and our diversity here. The labor force, the industries and trades. So that also includes Algonquin College, Village, On Track, some of our big industrial and commercial such as CNL, Delore, Scapa, Kerry Foods, they're all part of the town here. And then community assets, so museum, library, parks, recreation facilities, and operations. And then again, another big discussion that we want to have, and it's kind of been a hot topic at council as well, is our community improvement program. So the review of it, the boundaries of it, what do we want to see, what are recommendations, those type of things. So again, this is just a very kind of broad list, but I think it will help guide conversations as we move forward, and kind of give us some areas to touch base on. And I mentioned before that we're going to be bringing forward our hotel feasibility study. That'll come forward in August for discussion, because again, I think that's really important as well. So if there's anything, maybe through the chair, we can add more to the list if we'd like, or go from there.
Thank you, Clerk Barrett. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Chair, through you.
Yeah.
If there's any of the business partners that are with us now and they have something for an agenda that they feel is important to bring up, Carolyn, are you the point of contact, or do they go through Kyle?
Through you, Chair. Currently, I'm the point of contact. So everything through me. And certainly lots of discussions with the chair before an agenda goes out. But certainly if it goes through the clerk's office, then I can help kind of figure out, is it something that the staff needs to help provide some more information on? Is it something that we can put forward? Is it information you would like put forward on the agenda, documentation-wise or anything like that? We also have on this agenda, and that was one thing I should have maybe reviewed too, was just the structure of the agenda. We have a spot for correspondence as well. So that's an opportunity for anybody within the community, anyone with businesses, if there's something that they would like to bring forward or discussions they want to have, I'd like to include that in the agenda as well as through correspondence. So again, we want to engage, right? This is an advisory committee, we want to engage out there. So it gives lots of opportunity for those communications and those conversations to come forward.
Thank you. Any additions at this point, John?
Through you, Chair. I guess just for clarification, when we look at the items that we want to put on the agenda, for this group, are we thinking we should be tackling more like overview things, or do you want us to get down to like we're missing something on the website? Because one of the things that I think you'll find from the four of us is we're used to checking all of the boxes, not only at the high level, but just simple things as well. So I don't want to be giving lists of things to do if that's not our place, but at the same time, if that's the expectation, we can do that too. So just, do you want us to just focus on the high-end stuff, like when we talk about, let's say, talking to school boards, like that's a meeting, is that a meeting that we would facilitate with them and then come back and report on it? Or are you, like, you want us to take the charge on that, or is that something that's going to be facilitated?
Awesome. John, I'm going to pass this over to the clerk. She's got an idea for this answer.
So short answer, yes. No. Kind of a little bit of both, right? So certainly if there's administration, clerical, anything like that, that can be done, if it's something you want included on the website, I mean, absolutely, that's a conversation we can have at the office and get it up. Obviously, the town wants to support businesses, and, we just have a brand new website that we've recently launched, so we know that there's still areas for improvement on, so certainly little things like that can be dealt with right away. With regards to the conversations, I do think it's important if we want to have like delegations here. So, is it somebody from the school board coming and having a delegation at this meeting, having a conversation, what are their concerns, what are their future plans? That's those opportunities that we can have. So, John, do you need to go out and have that immediate conversation yourself? No, but certainly as a group, I think we should invite those people to the table. I think we should invite those conversations forward, because I do think that's important. And then again, if there's something that's like, hey, I really think there's some value in talking to X, or I've heard from the community that X needs to happen. Again, those are great conversations that, if you want to reach out to myself in the clerk's office to say, hey, this came to mind, maybe we should consider it, then maybe that's an initial conversation out to them, invite them in for, delegation, and kind of get the ball rolling that way. So a little bit of both, but certainly good conversations.
If I might just hop in through the chair as well. Again, I think bringing it back to the strategic plan, right? I think we really need to be aware of where council is going, over the course of the next, the next 10 years, and make sure that kind of we're focusing our efforts. The first priority under the complete community approach and mix of different uses is attracting a hotel, accommodation, commercial, industrial development to support jobs and economic development, right? So that's a pretty broad topic, right? But it really comes down to we need accommodations and we want to support job growth in the town, right? So, focusing our efforts in our conversations and maybe delegations, if someone has a connection within the accommodations sector, take advantage of those connections, maybe, invite folks to come in and speak to the committee and see if we can get some traction, and get some additional accommodations in Renfrew. So again, I just kind of tying it back. So, I think we can go in a lot of different directions with economic development, but I think really we want to focus on the strat plan and really where the organization and the town is going in the vision that council has for the next 10 years. All right.
Awesome. I'll just say something to follow up, John, and committee, you all have an incredible skill set in the business sense. So as we do this process and you see something that you would like to put your input in because of your view or your way about it, please speak up. Tell us, don't let us go down a path and sit back and say, that's not how we want to do it. That's not how I see it. Let's have the conversation so that we can at least table the right ideas to be successful. To the down and dirty point, that's, when you cross off all the boxes, that's part of our processes, each individual, right? So, yeah. Christina.
Just two things I'd like to add onto that list. One is love corporate, because I do feel corporate brings jobs to town, bigger organizations, but it's also, lack of a better term, a mom and pop shops, brick and mortar shops, creating a beautiful story on the main street as well. Seeing of the voids that we need to fill. I think that should be on the agenda for that as well, because we do have a lot of vacant stores on the main street, some places that are for sale, and it'd be great to entice something that we're completely missing on the main street, because that does help. And the other thing is events. They could be, it does make economic development because people fill the hotels, they go to the gas stations, they come downtown, they go grocery shopping, they go to our restaurants, and that's something that I'd like to actually see on the agenda eventually. Yeah.
Well, great, absolutely. Okay. Lori, did you have your hand up there?
I did, but it's a little broader.
That's all right.
So the kind of the things that I see kind of happening, first of all, there was the expression of interest that came out from the county or whatever about land usage and putting people together in terms of housing development and some of that stuff. And I'm constantly being asked about changes to provincial regulations around secondary dwellings and all of how that could open up some housing stuff. And I'm just wondering if that's its own little thing, its own little project on itself, housing, or does that fit into here? Because I can bring you all kinds of questions and stuff that and try and figure out a way to get that information in a positive way and a usable way to the people that will actually do the construction.
All right, thank you. We've touched this a bit, and I'll let Eric go through it a little bit more.
Sure, be glad to. No, I think it's very useful information. I mean, you're talking with builders every day, right? You're selling them the material to actually build things. So if you have a good handle on some of the questions they have, some of the kind of the data gaps that in their mind, like in terms of how things work and how to develop, I think that's very helpful for us and getting that information to us. if I'm being perfectly honest, the speed and the kind of the pace at which the province has been changing things over the last 4 years has kind of been blistering. And I think municipalities are, even at the staff level, and we do this every day, are still kind of acclimatizing to a lot of the changes. And some of it's changed and changed back, right? So they've tried, in the span of like 2 years, they made a massive amendment to the Planning Act and then decided, and they changed course, right? So the whole fee refund thing, municipalities had to start giving money back if they went beyond, and then, there was enough kind of, this doesn't make sense, that they changed course. But in the meantime, municipalities went through a process of putting completely new processes in place and policies and amendments to official plans to accommodate that new process. Now that all gets thrown in the bin and we got to change it all again. So, but absolutely, there's an education component there that I think once we kind of get sorted out in our heads and our processes, where to align with where things are at. They just gave royal assent to a new bill before they rose for the summer. So again, we got to change things again. But then I think we need to get. I think we need to improve the education component. We've got the new website. We've got some capabilities through that new website that, we can post manuals and kind of how-to guides and brochures. And we've had those in the past, but I think we need to, it's definitely an area of improvement. Absolutely.
You have a follow-up?
It's not really a question, it's just kind of a comment. I think you will be surprised the number of people that are out there and willing to work together to do something about the current housing situation. It's a matter of kind of putting us together. So I think that's something I'm going to try and work on in the background and maybe bring it back. But yeah, at some point we're going to get a list of what's available in terms of what is there to be developed in the town, like mixed-use stuff and all that kind of thing?
Sure, I can speak to that. So we do, obviously, the town, and I've mentioned, several times the different venues the town has, if you kind of look at it, anywhere kind of between 200 and 300 acres of land that some of it's real long range stuff, like we're talking 20, 30 years, but there is some land that's more immediately developable. So yeah, I think that's maybe something we can bring back to the committee, once we get a good solid inventory and kind of sequencing of when we think land can be developed, and maybe get the drone out there and shoot some of it. And start. And we're going to be moving through a process of getting standing offers in place for commercial and residential real estate services, so that we don't have to procure those on kind of an individual basis. We want to sell this piece of land, we got to procure it. We want to sell this piece of land, we got to procure it. So we want to get a standing offer in place and start to move that program forward for sure.
Awesome. Thank you, both Lori and Christina. We've got those suggestions documented. They'll be on the next list. That's great. Any other questions, councillors? Nothing? All right. We'll move on to D2, which is meeting scheduled. I'll turn this over to Clerk Arrett to give us a breakdown of what we're talking about and see if we can figure it out.
Okay, great. Through you, Chair. Again, going back to originally what the terms of reference had referenced to being the second Tuesday of every month, starting at 10 a.m., with the exception of July. We don't typically hold any council or committee meetings in July. So with the proposed schedule, with that in mind, I had Tuesday, August the 13th, September the 10th, October the 8th, November the 12th, and I have an error saying November 10th, but I actually do mean December 10th. So again, that's the second Tuesday every month at 10 a.m. Certainly I'd like to open it up to the floor if there's any discussion, if during the day is a challenge, or if that meeting time is a challenge. So back to you, Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor McWhirter.
Through you, Chair, for Clerk Everett. You worked that schedule out based on committee of the whole every other Tuesday, so this doesn't interfere with that?
sorry, that was the original schedule that was put forward, and you are correct with the changes. No, sorry, that is correct. Our committee of the whole meets the 1st and 3rd during the day, and this would be the 2nd Tuesday, so it wouldn't interfere. I know,
Yeah.
I just didn't do the math.
Thank you. Any other concerns at this time? We're okay, all right, that's easy. Yeah, absolutely.
So just through you, Chair, again. So if that's agreed upon schedule and if that seems to work with everybody, what I'll do is we'll post that schedule officially, both for the public as well as yourselves. You know, nothing like planning ahead, which always allows us to mark off our schedules.
Excellent. So as discussed earlier, there'll be an opportunity for correspondents and other businesses or individuals that want to come and speak to us. We don't have any committee meeting minutes yet, so that'll be the next time. We'll have that as a vote. So to finish up, the next meeting will be scheduled for August 13th at 10 a.m. for the Economic Development Advisory Committee. And from there, we're going to adjourn this meeting at 10:56. Thank you, everyone.